What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a Monday edition, a Victory Monday edition, a double Victory Monday edition of the Phaithful Phanatics Show live here on DSM-Media's Philadelphia YouTube and Twitter channels. Guys, the same way we start each and every one of our shows real quickly. Do yourself a favor, do us a favor. Make sure to follow on all social media platforms, specifically our Twitter page. And if you guys are new to the channel, the link tree in our bio will take you to every social media platform we are available on. If you want to be interactive throughout tonight's show and any of our shows here, like Terry is, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel specifically. It's the best and only spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with us. I'm on half your host tonight, Dylan Davis. To my left, my faithful co-host, Scotty. The Eagles head into Jerry World and grab Jalen Hurts' first ever career win in Dallas in a rout, 34-6, turning over Cooper Rush and Trey Lance and the Cowboys offense. Not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 times yesterday, Scotty. Eagles improved to 7-2, and with a Commanders loss yesterday, take a early division lead heading into this Thursday night matchup that we're going to get into later on in the week. Sixers grabbed their second win of the season with Joel Embiid on his way back to make his season debut tomorrow night against the Knicks in overtime against the Hornets, man. 2 wins, 2-7, both wins in overtime. First home victory of the year for our Sixers. Jared McCain coming out party. We got a lot to talk about today, man,
Blue
but
Devil.
happy to get on here on another Victory Monday with you.
Blue Devil Nation, yes.
Sir.
Welcome to Jared McCainland. It was beautiful last night. It was the perfect ending. Now, mind you, I know we both had the team total 108, right? Over 107 and a half.
Yeah.
Get screwed by the refs. It always just happens some way, somehow.
Yeah.
Even with the W, we get screwed by the refs in that last call in LaMelo Ball when he clearly tackled Jared McCain at the end of the game, and they somehow called it on the floor, reversed it. Nonetheless, that screws us out of the team total, but still, we get off the schneid and get a W, man. It's something that we've been waiting for, and I think it's perfect timing as Embiid's set to return on Tuesday to just get a nice little rejuvenating W for the rest of the positivity. Exactly. It was a perfect cap to a beautiful day, though, where we just put the belt to ass in Dallas, man. I won't lie to you. I was stressing in the first half. I was texting you. I was going nutty. But they finished the half strong. Ultimately, that kind of set the momentum into the second half. And, man, another victory for the Birds in dominating fashion, man. They're rolling right now. So
absolutely. And obviously,
I'm excited, as you can see.
We capped off the night with a Sixers win. Jared McCain. We're going to talk about that later on the show. We're going to start with the biggest story of the day, and that is the Eagles' 5-game winning streak. Nick Sirianni, only one of 3 head coaches all time to have 3 straight seasons of 5+ game winning streaks. I believe it's him, Andy Reid. Could be Sean McDermott. I could be messing up that third and final name, but Nick Sirianni in some elite company, Scotty. We're going to talk about his afternoon, what he was able to do. But let's start, man. Let's start with Jalen Hurts. He's the focal point each and every week. Found himself back into the MVP conversation over the 4-game winning streak heading into this one. And it started, like I said, kind of ugly. Holding on to the ball for a little too long. I believe he was sacked 5 times in the first half, and I would attribute 4 of the 5 to him
holding the ball
for far too long. You had the 2 turnovers. I'll give Trevon Diggs all the credit in the world on the interception in the end zone. It was a great play.
Yeah.
The fumble, I know it's Micah Parsons. It can't happen. You can't hold the ball loose, especially in your own territory, and put your defense at a disadvantage, which held tight. We'll talk about them a lot on today's show. But after that, the final drive of the first half was led by perfection, and then he never took his foot off the gas. The Eagles never took their foot off of the Cowboys' throat. 14 of 20 passing, over 200 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 115 quarterback rating, 7 carries, 56 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts was spectacular in this ball game from the minute and 50
in the second
marker
quarter
of the second quarter
Yeah.
to the finish.
Yeah.
And he took over this game. That second rushing touchdown you're talking about, get out of the way. Get out of the way, little man. Just make a business decision.
A grown man sport. Hey, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know if I would sit in and take that one with where the game was at and everything. But hey, way to take one on the chin, whoever it was that got bowled over there. I wanted to ask you, though, that first half, man, looking back on it, do you attribute most of that struggle to the sun in that stupid ass stadium? Like a lot of it, a lot of the time, the sun was glaring into like the Eagles' vision. We saw CeeDee Lamb miss a touchdown catch. I know it was a little behind him, but he didn't even know where the ball was at because the sun was in his eyes. But I know Hurts has in the past as well shown signs of, getting maybe a little shell-shocked, holding on to the ball a little bit too long in the pocket.
Can I throw this question to you? Because it was something that was going through my mind here. On the pregame show and all this past week, we kept talking about the cleanness and the confidence that Jalen's been playing with and protecting the football. And we want to see that turnover-less streak continue.
Yeah.
Is it I don't want to say better. Obviously, life's better when he's protecting the ball and he's not turning it over. But is it better that he did this in this moment, in this game, regardless of how banged up and bad the Cowboys have been against that rival, right? He did that early in the first half. He looked shell-shocked like you talked about for a little while. And then he responded in a big way in game. He didn't have a bad game for 4 quarters against the Cowboys and then respond next week against Washington. He had a bad quarter and a half and then responded in game in a big time way. Is that do you find that to be a positive as I'm kind of laying that out there? I don't know that. Have we seen him do that before? Have we seen him look, holding on to the ball, the fumble by the goal line? I feel like we see those games spiral out of control and he doesn't pick himself up until the next week. To see him do that in game, to see him lead that 2-minute drill and find Goddard after shoving off a defender, that was pretty cool to see from Jalen Hurts in the moment.
Yeah, no doubt, and I do agree. So there was kind of a 2-part question there. So one was do we feel like Hurts was like it was better that we see him bounce back, right, against this team or make those mistakes in this game against this team? So to answer that question, yes, I think it's great that it's a great thing that it happened here. The streak of, clean games. Maybe that was something that was building up in your head. I got to stay clean, because that interception in the first half did kind of look like he was getting a little greedy, trying a little too hard to get the ball to Goddard in the end zone right there. But at the end of the day, it was nice to see him reset in game, especially with the pressure that the Cowboys were putting on. I think that's something that kind of gets put under the rug, is that the fact that the Cowboys did have Micah Parsons back in this game. So that pass rush was rejuvenated to a certain extent, especially in the first half. In the second half, you started to see the offensive line take control, that we were able to run the football a little bit better. And then, of course, Jalen just got locked in. You didn't see any more of that sun shining through the stadium, and he got to work. But I will say this, I do take it with a grain of salt at the same time, the bounce back factor in game, because it's a lot different when you're playing Cooper Rush and you have those mistakes in your mindset and how you can reset and just move on to the next play, versus going against Washington in a big division matchup where they're one game behind you and you can create that separation. There's some added pressure there. Right. So I think if he throws an interception first quarter against Washington, that's a whole different animal of bounce back, I feel, than doing it against Cooper Rush. I would compare it to, kind of like the Lions last night, right? With Jared Goff throwing 5 interceptions. It's there is one side of the plate here where you can look at the Lions and say, wow, good on Jared Goff for bouncing back last night. Even with 5 interceptions, he goes out there and leads them to a W. The other side of it, you're looking at 5 interceptions. They're getting smoked by most good teams in the NFL. And the Texans going scoreless in the second half is just a bit ridiculous from C.J. Stroud.
C.J. Stroud had a 1 quarterback rating out of
that's insanity.
In the second half, 1.
But nonetheless, overall, to answer your question holistically, I think Hurts, yes, A+ bouncing back in this moment. Had the strip sack fumble, had the 5 sacks, had the turnover, the interception, I should say there. Able to bounce back, still finish with strong numbers, still finish with efficient numbers.
Efficient,
and the one thing I loved, man, the versatility on offense that they showed in this game. 8 different players got a reception in this game. You got Johnny Wilson in the end zone. He's getting a bunch of different guys involved in the game. It's beautiful to see when you have the opportunity to. I think it's good that we show this side of the offense.
I just want to point this out. And I know, again, we're going to talk a lot about the defense in the coming minutes. Okay. Don't get me wrong. And that's, having 5 turnovers is a great attributor to why your team's able to be put in positions to come away with points.
Yeah.
No matter who you're playing, this offense just scored 34 points with basically resting their starters the entire fourth quarter, kicking 2 field goals in the fourth quarter. Saquon Barkley had 66 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Devontae Smith had 2 catches for 14 yards. Dallas Goedert had 2 catches for 25 yards. Barkley a catch for 2. They scored 34 points, and it's not like they just absolutely popped off. That's the scare. That's what I love about this Eagles offense, man, is that I feel like they can beat you in so many different ways, and any person, any single player can step up. A.J. Brown, 5 for 109, basically 22 yards a pop there. And the last thing I wanted to point out about Jalen Hurts' day, man, it was efficient. It was confident from that 2-minute drill on to end the first half. And the deep ball combined with the efficiency against the blitz is what I'm most happy about and what I'm most confident about moving forward.
Yeah.
Like, what was the big storyline to end last year? What did Todd Bowles do to Jalen Hurts? 0 blitz him, 0 blitz him, 0 blitz him. He's the most efficient quarterback in the National Football League against pressure this year. He chews it apart. And that go ball to A.J. Brown down the right sideline to basically open up the second half, I believe, was perfectly thrown.
Yeah.
So he's been really, really good.
Yeah, I'm glad Marshawn Lynch said this, because that's what I texted a couple group chats this morning. I just wanted to ask around, like, what's the outside perspective on the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Detroit Lions, like after yesterday? Because I don't know, man. Like, it feels like everybody comes away like with more positives about the Lions, just finding a way to win. But when you look back on the last couple of weeks, when they're able to run the football, right, you don't have to see much of Jared Goff. Everything's running like a well-oiled machine. But then, now the Texans stop the run a little bit in the first half, and Goff just whacks out and throws 5 interceptions, and that's a positive? I don't see how. I see that as more of like the Texans shitting the bed completely at home in the second half when they had a game fully in control.
I think that's my biggest takeaway. Look, I think if you are a Lions fan, or if you're in that Lions locker room, like hell yeah, like
it's a great win. Absolutely. It's a great win.
From an Eagles perspective, like to the basis of what Martian is saying, I understand it, but we can't control like who the Lions play. Like we can't control, what the Houston Texans do or fail to do. That's my whole thing. Like, what if the Lions play somebody else and Jared Goff performs that way?
Right.
Like, what if they play
throwing the ball short?
Right. And that's the biggest thing.
They are a great team, though. That's my point, though. Just like the Lions are playing some of the best football in the NFL. I want to be clear on that. Like, I'm not saying they're a bad team just because they go out and they win a game where, Goff throws 5 picks. I'm just saying they do have some stuff they can work on as well as a football team to get better. They do have some weaknesses, is what I'm trying to say, as do the Eagles, right? We haven't seen it in a couple weeks as far as the weaknesses, but like we said earlier, bouncing back from those turnovers early in this game, you do that in a different game, it might not end up the same. Other teams might be able to take advantage of those 2 early turnovers we had against the Dallas Cowboys. So
For sure.
I do. I'm just curious where the Eagles match up against the Detroit Lions, because I do hold them up on this pedestal as one of the top 2 teams in the NFL, along with the Chiefs.
Let me just be quite frank with you. I'm all the way like back in. Like I am all the way,
that's what I'm getting at.
I am all the way back into the point of like I truly think and believe that this team is a top 3 team in the National Football League, that they can compete with anybody. Like you watch the Lions, if like to Tim Martian's comment, if he throws 5 picks against us, he's buried. Buried by this offense. You watch the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're different, right? Because they have the championship pedigree. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's Andy Reid. You just know in January things are going to be different. However, man, it's the same thing could be said for the Chiefs yesterday. They were 2 seconds away from losing the Bo Nix in Arrowhead, which D-Rab was very close to co-hosting Turf Talk this week. But like, if Bo Nix and the Broncos can put up this fight, if the Chargers can put up fight, like that we can't control what mistakes other teams make. They're not the Philadelphia Eagles. So when the Lions or the Chiefs take advantage, good on them. That's a humongous win for them. But that doesn't deter me from an Eagles fan to go, oh man, they look like this and still won. What if the Texans have Nico Collins?
Yeah.
What if Kaimi Fairbairn makes a field goal?
Yeah.
They don't win. Fair. You know what I mean? So it's little things. It's little things. But with all that said, and 1,000% Jalen Hurts was on the money yesterday, we got to talk about this Eagles defense, man. We have to talk about this Vic Fangio.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I know it's a Cooper Rush. The point of this conversation is not to just focus on yesterday's game. They didn't allow a touchdown. The Cowboys scored 6 points. 3 of those 6 points came off of the Jalen Hurts fumble, I believe. I don't think that was the Zeke fumble in the end zone. I think they kicked the field goal off of the Hurts fumble. Yes.
Didn't they fumble it and then Hurts fumbled it right in the possession after?
Yeah, I believe so. And then
they got a field goal on that.
And then we went on a 2-minute drill, I believe, immediately following that. But the point is not to just talk about this Cowboys game specifically. The point is to take this 9-game, 10-week stretch as a whole. The Eagles defense through week 10, first in yards per pass attempt allowed at 5.5. Second in yards per game allowed. Tied for third in touchdowns given up. They've only allowed 8 touchdowns given up. Fourth in quarterback rating allowed. It's under 79. Tied for 5th in points per game allowed. It's under 18 points per game. Vic Fangio has this unit balling the fuck out. 5 turnovers. I don't care who you're playing. 5 turnovers is 5 turnovers. Bryce Huff getting the Cooper Rush and forcing a turnover yesterday.
Confidence.
Quinyon Mitchell still can't even be thrown at. Cooper DeJean making big play after big play. CJ Gardner-Johnson getting involved. Zach Bond is everywhere.
He's an animal.
Everywhere. Nakobe Dean, humongous hit to open up the game.
Yeah.
The linebackers, the front 4, the back end. This defense is locked in, man. And it's not just over this 5-game winning streak. It's not just since the bye week. It's been all year long. The defense truly, Scotty, has 2 blips in their radar. The Tampa Bay game, which the entire team got their ass handed to them that game, and we can make a list of reasons and excuses why. And the final possession against the Atlanta Falcons. That is the only things you can look back on and go, wow, this defense has been dominant outside of that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. And there was a significant change. There was a turning point where Cooper DeJean gets inserted, and it feels like they did go to another level. Just as far as like sturdiness, man, because this man does not miss tackles. He doesn't get caught in bad positions, getting flags. I can't believe that we got him in the second round. I really can't believe it, man. I can't believe that we have Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean going forward. Like, if they go out and they lock in Zach Bond, just get him extended now. Don't let him walk out of this door, like out of this locker room. You get him locked up now. I'm gonna bring back all the dogs. I'm bringing the Kobe back. I'm bringing Nolan. I'm keeping those boys together because whatever motivates them and keeps them synchronized and balling together, that's what I want to see. It just feels so secure for the future, and that's what I'm really talking about. That's what I'm like so excited about with this defense. But I think the crazy thing is, man, we're talking about them, and they're just at the beginning. Most of these guys, right? Like outside of the Josh Sweats, the Darius Slays, maybe the CGJs, right? These are guys that are just getting initiated to the NFL. They're really just starting to shine, and I'm beyond excited to go into Dallas, regardless of who is at quarterback, man, and make those plays. It's actually it's completely insane, man, to see them on the big stage making those plays. Isaiah Rodgers steps in for Darius Slay. You don't even notice the difference, man. And that's the other thing, right? The interchangeable pieces that they have on this defense. They can have N'Kobe blitz. They can have Zach Bond blitz. They can have Cooper DeJean come in and blitz from the slot, from the nickel corner. Like, they just have so many variations. Like you said, Vic Fangio. It's one of the things I wrote down here, man, is like just like the keys from this game, key takeaways. Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio are starting to let loose on the rest of the NFL, man. And this is what an organized, good play called team looks like with the talent that the Philadelphia Eagles have, man. And I think it's just beginning to come together. Like you said, it is scary because that offense did it. What, they scored 7 in the first quarter and then didn't score again until 2 minutes left in the second quarter in the first half.
Yes.
And they end with 34.
Mm-hmm.
Make that make sense, right? They're just getting started, man. That's the scary part. This defense, they're only going to build more chemistry together, right? Cooper DeJean, he was introduced to the defense, like the starting defense, what, 4 weeks ago?
I think following the bye, he was like really introduced, and then probably like 3-4 weeks ago, he took over the starting slot. First of all, let's just emphasize what you talked about. It's storybook. It's picture perfect. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Howie Roseman never takes a corner high in the draft. Everyone wants these two guys. We somehow come away with both. You know, are they going to start right away, or are they going to have the training wheels on them? Are they both going to pan out? Can one at least pan out? Dude, they are all over the place. You don't even see 27 on the field on your screen because they don't throw at them. Yeah.
And when they do, bro, like, it gets shut down. Yeah. He is a true shutdown corner.
Hit on hit.
It's ridiculous.
Every time they even attempt it. Cooper DeJean, man, he's good in coverage. Cooper DeJean's open field ability and like making plays on the flat. We know the Jamar Chase 4th down stop against Cincinnati.
He's like, just those
freak. Big plays. His ability to just be so like. That's the problem I have with some of these veterans, right? Like, bro, he's so fundamentally sound. You're not getting past 33 in the open field. If he gets his arms wrapped around you, you're not breaking that.
I don't understand how he fell to the second round. I don't have
no idea. They are both so fucking good. And the thing you talk about with Vic Fangio, man, is I do think you're right. I think there's even more to come from this defense because I think you're starting to see the risks be taken and the opportunistic ability from them. 3 turnovers against Jacksonville last week, 5 turnovers this week. If there was anything, they bend but don't break. They're holding teams under 20 points. But where are the turnovers?
They're coming in boatloads now.
They're coming in bunches right now. Dude.
Yeah, and man. Everybody involved.
For all the complaints we can have of, maybe whiffing on Bryce Huff, right? Maybe, CG Gardner-Johnson hasn't played the way we anticipated coming back. For all the negatives you can point to Howie or Vic for, you have to look at Zach Bond, Quinyon Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean, and just realized that he absolutely nailed all three of these selections and signings this offseason.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I just want to, I don't want to wrap up this conversation.
Johnny Wilson.
I'm having a lot of fun on this Victory Monday, but this team feels complimentary in a way they haven't been in previous years. We've won a Super Bowl. We've gone to a Super Bowl and had a 10-point lead in the second half. But in both of those years, we couldn't force a punt. And maybe the same thing happens again if they were able to reach the mountaintop and play Mahomes or play Lamar. Maybe it's just a shootout again. I don't know. But in those years, you just, with Gannon and Schwartz, the sack totals, they were all there. But you just always felt like this defense, couldn't rise to the occasion. And then they didn't. And the offense had to play out of their minds. You have an offense that if people make mistakes against you, if they can't score sixes against you, if Jalen Hurts turns the ball over inside his own 20, and then you can't score a touchdown off of that, this is an offense that's going to bury you when the defense plays the way they are. That's what I mean by complimentary. There's too much talent on this Eagles offense, Scotty. Again, man, what do we have in the last 4 weeks now? 28, 37, 28, 34?
Yeah.
Is that points-wise? And when you have a defense allowing less than 18 points per game, that is a recipe for a deep, deep playoff run.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm not even, out on guys like Bryce Huff, eventually.
No, I think
I'm going to give him the whole season to kind of show what he can do here. Ultimately, we can afford to do that at this point. The moves that Howie's made, the depths that were created with this roster. I'm interested to see if Bryce Huff can have a sack streak after he got started against Dallas late in that game. So to your point, I am excited about what Howie was able to do, and ultimately where this team is going. Even CGJ, like if he can just give us, Jalen Mills type of situation from the year we won the Super Bowl, that might just be good enough with the guys like Quinyon Mitchell. You still have Darius Slay. You have Isaiah Rodgers, who's playing well. You have Cooper DeJean, who's playing well. Reed Blankenship isn't noticeable, which is a good thing, unless he's making a play, right? So, I think there's a lot more balance. Like, the secondary is much better compared to some of those other years. Now, mind you, Bradbury and Slay, they were having all-pro type of seasons during that 2023 when we did go to the Super Bowl. But
in the big moment,
there's something different about this group of corners, but then also the things that Vic Fangio is willing to do, because you see these corners coming up, playing press coverage. They're not just sitting back in sticks coverage, like that shit that just annoyed the hell out of us with Jonathan Gannon down the stretch there. You don't see that from Vic Fangio. He's making adjustments. He's adding variations to the defense. He's bringing pressure. He's trying all different types of things, man. So I am ultimately excited. And the good thing about this season, right, because we had a point where we got to a comfortable spot last season, and I'm not saying this season is the same. I'm not saying that by any means. But what I am saying is that we have some games over the next few weeks that we get to see it, right? Like, let's make sure that this defense is top three, maybe number one, when you go up against guys like Jaden Daniels, who is playing very well this year as a rookie. That's kind of like the first step, right? Yep. And then you go to Matthew Stafford in LA, and that's the next step. That's like the next level of test from a quarterback. And then you go to Baltimore, and you get probably the most dynamic set of quarterback and running back in the NFL to test your defense against. And that's what I'm most excited about, man. We get to see it against some of the best talent in the NFL before we get to the postseason. So we get to prove it. We get to get that confidence built. We just got to take care of business.
By the way,
forward, man. But I'm feeling really, really good, man. I'm with you.
By the way, Jordan Mailata, practice window activated from the IR. Been doing this without all him. Dallas Goedert was injured. He comes back, 2 catches, one of which is in the end zone to end the first half. You mentioned Johnny Wilson gets his first touchdown catch in the National Football League. The Eagles undefeated, haven't lost a game when A.J. Brown plays football. Coincidental? I don't know.
Saquon, 15 touches in this game. You don't overuse him. You don't overwhelm him. He's been heavy in workload the previous weeks. Now you go on Thursday and watch against Washington in Philadelphia. Give him 30 touches. Give him 25, 30 touches in that game because we were able to give him a little bit of a rest this week against Dallas. That's the other great thing coming out of this game, man.
They held the Cowboys to 146 total yards of offense. And again, we're well aware of who
Take
was
it
on
with
the
a
other
grain of
side
salt,
the
but
line of scrimmage.
still, NFL offense.
Right. And it didn't matter when they put Trey Lance in there for a couple. Oh, Trey Lance comes in, crowd starts to get on their feet. Finally,
They're looking for anything.
Sacked, interception, just. It didn't matter who they were throwing out there. It's an indictment on Jerry. It's an indictment on the Cowboys, but it's also a positive when it comes to the Eagles because they did the few things they could do for us to take really something away from this game. You and I talked about it all pregame show long. With how injured the Cowboys were, with how 3-5 at that time, how they've been playing, they're dysfunctional. The juice just, I don't know, it just didn't have the normal Dak versus Jalen, both teams fighting for first place in the division type of rivalry matchup we're accustomed to. And they start out the first half slow. It's 7-6. Jalen has 2 turnovers. He's been sacked 5 times, and you and I are texting and going, my God, this is the one thing you couldn't do. And in the snap of a finger, probably their next 3 or 4 possessions from the end of the first half and to the through the third quarter, the Eagles absolutely took over this ballgame. They win by 28 points. The defense just allows 2 field goals. Nick Sirianni stayed out of the way. They got to rest 90% of their starters in the entire fourth quarter. It was picture perfect. It's all you could ask for to go on a business trip, to go in and handle it your job that way and come home on a short week for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, who took a big time L against Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Beautiful. Thank you, by the way. Our pockets. Thank you, Russell.
Beautiful.
But it was a picture perfect Sunday, man. And not only,
the Cowboys, man, they're just so bad.
They are.
They're so bad. Micah and Trayvon Diggs after the game just fanboying. It's got to be disgusting. It's got to be disgusting to watch from that side, man. If we were losing, it would be disgusting.
Michael Parsons throwing his head coach under the bus publicly, and then as if he wasn't on video saying the words himself, he tweets out promoting his podcast to tune in today to get the real story
to address.
The words came out of your mouth, man. You're so dysfunctional right now. This dude's going to be like, come over to Bleacher Report at 4 p.m. today. Like he's just this lowly video, this streamer or podcaster that's going to get the real story out to the people. Like, he's dysfunctional, dude. You know, it's so funny, man. I'm going to be honest here for a second. Obviously, I would love Micah Parsons to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's a top 3 or 4 defensive player in the National Football League. I don't even care. I don't even want him that badly because I hate his personality. I hate the phoniness. I hate the corniness. I hate the lack of competitiveness from him. I hate the fanboying, the friendliness, the excuse making. I hate everything that comes out of his mouth, man.
I do feel you. It's toxic is what it is. It's very quick to turn his back on those who have, let's be honest, they've taken care of him. He wanted to be drafted to Dallas. That's what he said.
And they're hard strapped for cash already, and they're going to have to open up their wallets this offseason to pay his ass and make their roster even worse because they can't afford any help around the fringes either.
Yeah. And what is the plan with Dak, man? Or do they move on? Do you try to trade him somehow?
And by the way,
draft a young quarterback?
What was the point of the announcement that he's getting season-ending surgery on Saturday, and then they're reporting yesterday that he hasn't made that decision yet? What do you do? What?
I don't get it. Maybe he was waiting to see if they could beat the Eagles on Sunday. I don't know, man. They're not even worth the time, honestly, to make fun of anymore. Like, they are a disaster. They make fun of themselves. That is how bad the Cowboys
They do,
are.
and we luckily were able to attribute to that disaster on Sunday. So
absolutely.
It's always a little bit of a cherry on top. But not only did the Commanders lose and we win our best bet of the 1 p.m. slate, not only did the Eagles rout the Cowboys in Jerry World, the Sixers cap off a Sunday night with an overtime victory against the Charlotte Hornets, man. Let's talk about it. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, we
so
both had
with this team, man. So much going on with this team. Seriously.
The worst part about it, dude, is if you weren't tuned in for the start of the show, Scotty alluded to the fact that him and I both had the Sixers team total over 107.5 last night. Obviously, you know, when you're in the third quarter, fourth quarter, they get a 16-point lead and they're, you know, in the high 80s, mid 80s. They're not going to hit that mark unless they get to overtime. And we somehow find ourselves at 97-97 at the end of regulation, and we need 11 points in overtime to hit our bet. Obviously, we want the Sixers to win first. Like, we get that, but like, you could just let's accomplish both goals here. And not only do they not accomplish it, they finish at 107 on the dot. And it's just, even when they come away with a win, they find a way to annoy me, and they find a way to do it in the ugliest possible fashion. You blew a 16-point lead with like less than 9 minutes to go against the Charlotte fucking Hornets. I don't care if Joel Embiid was playing or not. I don't care if Tyrese Maxey was playing or not. That is just so bad. There's positives we're going to get into.
Yeah.
But it was ugly. Also, I have to throw this out there. Whether it's coming from higher up, whether Paul George has a say in it himself, whether this is strictly a coaching staff decision, I am so over this minute restriction load management plan.
I'd rather him not play.
What, Scotty, the man played 33 minutes. What is the difference in a few more minutes in overtime?
He can't build any rhythm.
Let me throw it a step further. Maybe you don't play him the first minute and a half of overtime, 2 minutes of overtime. And at that point, I think it was still 97-97 because neither team could score a basket.
Yeah.
Paul George couldn't have played 2.5 more minutes last night.
Right.
Now they win without him. But
imagine
they lose by 1 or 2 last night. And Paul George sat on the bench after playing 33 minutes. And my problem is he plays 33 minutes last night and he's on a minute restriction, but he's on the same minute restriction in LA and he'll play 24 minutes. And then in his debut, he played 31 minutes, but the next game he plays 23 minutes. Where are the minutes? Because he's all over the fucking place.
They're waiting for Embiid. But yeah, it is annoying to watch because like his playing time is so sporadic, like it's so spread out throughout the game that it feels like he just doesn't even get to build a rhythm. As soon as he gets going, he hits a shot or 2 in a row, he's on the bench again. I really don't like some of the rotation decisions that Nick Nurse has been making over the last couple of games, quite honestly. Kelly Oubre, what's going on with him? Whatever that was on the bench at the beginning of the game, you know, throwing the water bottle and stuff. Not sure what's going on there. I know his minutes are kind of fluctuating as well. He's very sporadic with where he places Oubre in the rotation. So it seems like there's just once again a lot going on. Andre Drummond puts up, you know, double doubles, but you know, there's times where it looks like there's a lack of effort or a lack of IQ.
Lack of effort.
Missing bunnies at the rim or not finishing dunks. Once again, I'm not putting too much stock into Andre Drummond right now as a starter. He's a guy that should get 10 to 15 minutes a night as a backup for Embiid. But then on the other side, let's take it to the positives because it was a W. It was ultimately a W. We did have some very big highlights in this game, and 2 of them particularly. Jared McCain, of course, the 27 points in this game. Fearlessness, the confidence at the end of the game to take over. I'll be honest, I was high on McCain. I wanted him to get some minutes. I didn't know that he could like take over a fourth quarter and overtime period and like be the primary scorer without another guy on the court to take any type of attention. There was a point where Jared McCain was getting double teamed towards the end of that fourth quarter into the overtime period. The other guy I want to compliment on last night, Gershon Yabusele. He's another guy that has kind of solidified his rotation minutes, even when everybody is back healthy, because he brings a particular role. He can bring a certain skill set to this team. He can knock down the three. He's physical. He has strength. He can use his body inside. Love the idea, honestly, Dylan, of him starting next to Embiid, man. And let me take it a step further. Even when Maxi's back, starting Jared McCain next to Maxi, these are things that we have to consider, because I look at Caleb Martin, I look at Kelly Oubre. They're good players. They're very useful. Like, they're very versatile. They're great connector pieces. But wouldn't the floor spacing be great? Wouldn't that knockdown three-point shooter be great next to Maxi, Paul George? You have the size with Yabusele and Embiid inside. I don't know. You have a ton of different options. You have some Swiss Army knives in guys like Oubre and Caleb Martin that you can mix around here. But it was just enough boost for me to get excited right before Embiid comes back on Tuesday.
Yeah, look,
that's what this game was. It was just enough to get a little excited.
Right. And obviously no one is sitting here happy with the 2-7 record, I think. But the thing that has been this team's saving grace over this disgusting start to the year is the fact that outside of Boston and Cleveland, no one else in the Eastern Conference is above 500.
Yeah.
Like, currently the Philadelphia
isn't playing well.
Currently the Philadelphia 76ers are 2.5 games out of the 3 seed. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's a very long season, and if the actual load management plan can now begin, not the fake load management plan that was really some swelling or something. The actual load management plan can begin for Joel. Maxey will probably miss, another week, maybe?
Hamstrings are weird. It's hard to even say.
See. But again, it's early November, and now the season begins, so to speak. The 10th game of the season is when we start this. Is when we start our campaign. But I do agree. The thing with me, with just the starting lineup idea, I'm not against it. I've seen Sean Barnard mention it as well, and I'm with it. I just don't know if I want to. I want to see the vision first of what we built this offseason. And I know, it would be a lot easier to say if Caleb Martin was shooting better from the corners and, just input him and help out Embiid in the space. But, this roster was constructed a way to surround your guard, forward, center, all 3 levels with guys. So I would say, I think I'm okay with starting McCain more, and I would probably leave Caleb Martin in the starting lineup, and Kelly can come off the bench as a bucket getter. Eric Gordon can come off the bench as a floor spacer. Kyle Lowry can come off the bench. And then Yabusele can be your backup 4. The thing with Drummond, too, I know I'm going all over the place right now. The issue with Drummond, man, is, yes, it's lazy. I texted you that last night. Like, bro, you're 7 feet. I think the Hornets were playing small ball, and he's just standing under the rim. He's not jumping for a rebound. He's not doing anything, and he still came away with 10 rebounds. If you just put a little bit more effort in, the issue is we're still judging him off of starter minutes. And I know he played less minutes last night because Yabusele was great, but when he's backing up Joel, let's just see if the Drummond experience goes a little bit more smoothly when Embiid's starting and he's only playing, 12-ish minutes a night.
And you will have the option, some matchups, you'll be able to bring Yabusele in for Embiid and play a little bit of small ball with that center, man.
Which is something I think we questioned before the year. Can the Sixers play small that way?
I wanted to comment on this. And I want to ask, what's the difference when Kyle Lowry starts?
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry gives max effort, sure. Like, he gives great effort. Right. He's scrappy.
Is he clamping anybody and really making
clamping? No, he's not. He's small. Jared McCain can give you more energy. He can be more scrappy, and he has a better jump shot. Yeah. Now, I get the idea of keeping Lowry in there as a floor organizer, sure. But defensive-wise, I don't know. I'm not losing sleep off removing Kyle Lowry and inserting McCain. PG is garbage, man. I just can't. I haven't got to see him get into a rhythm, man. I haven't got to see him get a long period of minutes.
I love Martian.
I know.
And I know he's trolling a bit. I know we've been through a lot. in the Philly sports community, and we've been through a lot of heartbreak and pain. But my man, you severely lack patience. Like, I know how ugly the start of the season has been, dude.
I thought I did. I thought
I wasn't patient. This man has played. What did he just play in his third game as a Sixer?
Right.
His third game. And
yeah. I'm homering for McCain. Has Kyle Lowry won us a basketball game this season?
Fair point.
Has Kelly Oubre? Has Caleb Martin? None of these other guys have won us a basketball game this season. Jared McCain steps up as a rookie.
And to go back to PG for a second, because I did think this when I was watching the game last night. The mid-range is there for PG. That fadeaway on the weak side, the mid-range game is there for PG. He's not shooting well from three through the first couple of games. He shot the ball 6 of 18 last night. He was 1 for 9 from three. So he's 5 for 9 in the mid-range. Like, that's
like, he's been garbage. Don't get me wrong. Like, he has been bad, but
he's going to figure it out. And B, hasn't played a minute with Joel. And C, has played like 30 seconds with Maxey, because the moment Paul George came back, Tyrese Maxey goes out with a hamstring injury. So Paul George has played by himself the last 2 games and been the number 1 option the last 2 games, when in reality, he's here to be a second or third, or most nights third option for this team. So we'll see, man. Patience.
Yeah, patience. Because, if we get to after the All-Star break, or we get to the playoffs and Paul George is, averaging Tobias Harris numbers, 15 points, 14 points on some, suspect shooting.
Right. Like, we'll have that combo. 9 from 3 night in and night out. Yeah,
we'll have that combo, because his nonchalantness, I will say, it does, like, he's like a little too smooth or something. Like, I don't know what it is.
My number 1 complaint with Paul George so far is his, like, lack of court awareness on the break, or when he's trying to break someone down with the dribble. My man will see a double team.
Yeah.
Go right, and then try to – I've seen him do it like 4 times. Try to, like, spin move, and he just – walks into the second defender, and the ball's going the other way. Like, the court awareness has to get better.
I don't know if that's a floor spacing thing or what. The good thing is, when he plays with Embiid, he's not going to get double teamed. You're not going to be able to afford to double team Paul George. So he will have a lot more space to work with. Obviously, even with Maxey on the court, you get that, but I'm not selling out on PG just yet. It hasn't been great. I do want to see him, like, with no limits on minutes, able to play.
I want to see him next to the big fella. That's what I want to see. Man. And Paul George play together. That's what
That's why I'm so excited. Like, I'm not just, like, a little excited because McCain went off and we got a W against Charlotte last night. I'm excited because Embiid's coming back. Like, it has been horrible. It has been a horrible experience, and it all can change.
And maybe it won't. Maybe we still can't shoot from 3, and the floor spacing doesn't matter, and we're still, we're right. We're winning games, but it's whatever.
I don't know, man.
If we
34 and 11's coming back.
I know.
I don't know, man.
The reason I said that is because I understand the frustrations. Like,
I understand, absolutely.
Like, the 2-7, 1-7 start at one point was incredibly disgusting to watch on a nightly basis. They didn't look like an NBA team. But if we look back in a month and the Sixers are the sitting 6 seed and they're on a 5-game winning streak, are we going to care that they started 1-7? Or are we going to be focused on continuing to climb into the top 3-4 seed at that point in time? So, like, it's been ugly. It's been frustrating. Nick Nurse has pissed me off. The certain players haven't been as good as we need them to be. We've been injured, suspended, fined. It's been a fucking movie to start the year.
It definitely has, man.
Drama never stops. Tomorrow night. Now, however, that'll be short-lived because he's not going to play on the back-to-back against Cleveland.
How much of a minute restriction is he going to be on? You know what I mean? Like, are we just going to get glimpses of Embiid out of shape tomorrow night against the Knicks?
I highly doubt it.
I don't want to see that. But, 35 or 34 11, and 5.6 assists per game last season before he went out with that injury in the regular season. Came back in the postseason, 33, 11, and 5 against the Knicks in 6 games in the postseason on one leg with one eye.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm excited to get
it. The last thing I want to throw out there, right? Because, again, I know how ugly it's been. But if we're looking directly ahead of us in standings, who is ahead of the Philadelphia 76ers right now or like tied? You have teams like the Wizards, the Hawks, the Pistons, the Hornets who they just beat, the Nets, the Bulls. Teams that just aren't going to be there by the time game 82 is played and finished, okay? So those are all teams, at least 90% of them will be out of the way. Maybe 1 or 2 of them continue to play a little bit better than exceed expectations. Then I would ask, besides knowing that the Sixers are going to be better than all of those teams I just listed, I want to know what the excuse is for the other teams. What's the Milwaukee Bucks excuse to starting 2-8 when they're healthy?
They're calling everybody.
What's the New York Knicks excuse to starting 4-5? Like, we're freaking out over 2-7. We're behind the New York Knicks by 2 games.
Beat them tomorrow. They're 4-6. You're 3-7.
And we haven't had Embiid, Paul George, Maxey, a mixture. Like, so that's my point. That's why I'm like,
the East is very weak.
Let's just calm down on November 11th. And see if we can just start to get this thing headed in the right direction, which I wholeheartedly hope and believe that they, in a month and a half from now, will not be looked at in the fashion that that we're discussing them over the last 2 weeks or so, because they'll actually be a legitimate basketball team again. So,
you excited for the NBA Cup, man?
Sure, I'd like to win a championship, right?
Yeah, like something, right? They got the Knicks coming to Philly in the first game, and then on Friday, is it Friday? Probably. That we play. Who do we play on Friday? The Magic, and I believe Paolo is injured. So
he is injured. Yeah.
Cavs in between. So we got some decent competition this week. Embiid right in time, like you said, probably won't play against the Cavs, but.
Oh, he definitely won't play against the Cavs.
Knicks, Cavs, Magic.
I am interested, man. I don't want to jinx anything, and I don't want to, upset myself. But I'm interested to see if anything comes out with Paul George tomorrow, because he also minute restriction back to back. I highly doubt Paul George is playing in both games. So the question is going to be, do they both play tomorrow, get them on the floor together, and then just say, oh, it's the Cavs, undefeated, whatever. Or are they going to split it up and Embiid plays tomorrow but not Paul George, and then Paul George plays Wednesday and not Embiid? Like that, I'll be super. I think
I would rather just go for the W.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
Yeah,
play both tomorrow, because do you have a great chance of beating? I don't want to say great chance. You have a great chance with Embiid any night, but do you have a good chance night one, just Embiid, no Maxey or Paul George against the Knicks? And do you have a good chance with just Paul George against the Cavs? No, you don't.
Right. You might lose.
You have a very good chance with Embiid and George against the Knicks.
Yeah.
1,000%. Play both. Go for the win. Yeah. And if Paul George can't go, Embiid's not going to go, whatever, take the early L. You're 3-0, whatever. We'll move on from the back-to-back. But yeah. I just hope they don't decide to split it up and take that route. So
don't ruin my excitement, man. Let's get most of the squad back together tomorrow night and have some fun after Duke takes on Kentucky. Have to throw a little bit more Duke glaze in there. Big matchup in college basketball tomorrow evening. Right. So we get some. Actually, it's reverse. It's actually the Sixers and Knicks early, and then Duke and Kentucky with the late night game. So. Tune in, Martian. Might see some future Sixers on that Blue Devils team, man, if we're lucky.
All right, guys. With that said, let's get the hell out of here on a double victory Monday.
We've had you guys over on the NBA.
By the way, can we acknowledge the Sixers play well on Sundays for some reason, because we've had 2 double victory Mondays with 2 overtime wins on Sunday afternoon in Indiana and nighttime in Philly against the Hornets. So Take that for what you will. If you're new to the channel, make sure to follow us on
W's on
Twitter,
Sundays.
subscribe to the channel. I believe Scotty's got to go do another NBA pod directly after this with our man Slim, who's in the comments. So make sure you're tuned in to the Galaxy pod on YouTube, and make sure you're tapped into Scotty Talks NBA channel on YouTube. Sir. Subscribe, follow, tune in. Appreciate you guys, and talk to you on Wednesday. Peace out.
Peace out, everybody.